What's up, YouTube? Today, I got a special guest with me. She is a co-worker of mine. She is also a sister in Christ. She's doing some big things on the business side for herself. I want y'all to welcome to the channel, Kylie Stores. This has been an interview long in the making, and
Long.
it's been a long time. But we are here today. I wanted to bring Kylie on because I wanted to talk to her about a whole lot of things, but there's just things that we don't got enough time to get into today. But her being a woman, a Christian, just her life in general, she has a very unique story. I wanted to bring her on and shed some light on that and just have her share some things that she's been able to overcome, and where God is leading her. And so, without further ado, I want to give you the floor and pretty much how you introduce yourself, because I don't think I can do it justice. So I'm gonna have you introduce yourself.
Thank you first off for having me, Darry. Yeah, like I said, this has been a long overdue interview. Yeah, like Darry said, I'm Kylie, 31 years old, which sounds so crazy to say, but 31 years old from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I love Pittsburgh so much.
Shout out to Pittsburgh.
Shout out to Pittsburgh, but I'm here in Chicago, in which I actually love Chicago so very much. Been here for November 1st will be 5 years, y'all. That is so scary to me, but I'm here 5 years. No telling how long God is going to keep me here, but I am grateful to be here. So yeah, and I do have a very interesting life story. When I think about like telling my story and just different aspects, I can go into so many different ways. I feel like an everything bagel. Because it's like a
Everything
little
bagel.
bit
That's something
everything
I'm gonna have to steal
bagel.
that one.
Because I feel like I have so much going on. And so, yeah, I don't know which route you want to take this, but overall, I mean, um, I guess I can start with just like my overall testimony and my upbringing and kind of wrap it in a bow. Essentially, I was adopted. I was born to a mother and father back in Pittsburgh, and they just realized like they couldn't do it in terms of taking care of me. And so, yeah, they gave me up for adoption. I was in foster care, and then I went to a adopted home at 18 months. And I was raised in Pittsburgh with a mother and a grandmother. My grandmother had passed, but my mother was a single mom, still raising me, and, did what she had to do. It was interesting because she was sick over the years. She had a couple strokes and breast cancer. And so she was always in and out of the hospital, and I was kind of in and out of her family's homes just because I was too young to obviously live by myself. But over, like, as it got closer to my teenage years, I was on my own pretty much. I would live with friends, or there would be periods where I would live by myself, and then family went away to school. But throughout those years, I always knew I was adopted from day one. She always, let me know that, and I can, from as far as I can remember, knew I was adopted. And it caused a lot of emotional stress for me because you just feel like, oh man, I wish I knew my biological family, and why didn't they want me, and I wonder where they are. Do I have any siblings? And so that was like always a part of me. And then my mom being sick and being in and out the hospital, just not really having her to be able to raise me, it was challenging. But I think my faith walk comes in because the baseline of all of that, and the thing that has kept me sane the longest, and the thing that has always been an anchor in my life, was my faith. And so I can remember as early as 5 years old questioning and saying, God, if you're God of the universe, who made you? Like, I was asking apologetics questions at 5 years old. Like, what is going on? Who is this guy? How are you, God? Who made you?
Yeah.
I've been asking questions forever. And then by God's grace, my adopted mother used to take me to church. And so I got saved at 8 years old at Christian summer camp. And then over the years, just been walking with the Lord. Got baptized at 18. And then in my early 20s, just really finally decided like I just want to live for Christ. And so not a perfect Christian whatsoever, have a bad attitude problem, have some control things I'm working through. God has worked with me on things from purity to gossip to drunkenness. These are things that, still continue to be points of prayer and points of growth. But overall, I truly just love the Lord. I know that Jesus is real. And yeah, I'm just excited to be able to help his people. So that's like the
Wow.
broad overall.
Wow. So obviously I have a ton of questions.
I love it.
Um, so how being adopted, how do you think that like changed your perspective of well, first for yourself? Like, did you deal with like insecurities as far as like some people struggle with like, man, my parents didn't want me, or like identity issues of like, did you struggle with any of those type of things growing up?
Yeah, I think the biggest is what you said. Why don't my parents want me? Where are they? Um, I your identity and then abandonment is the biggest thing. Like just feeling like, oh, everybody's gonna leave me if my parents didn't want me. Why should I? To be able to trust other people. So yeah, abandonment probably was one of the biggest things that I've dealt with. But yeah, the identity too, because it's interesting. You go into a doctor's office and you go to fill out a health history, and you cannot write your health history because you don't know your parents'
Mm.
health history. So little things that may come easy to other people when I was growing up was not easy for me because I just had no clue. So yeah.
And so as a young kid, a young lady, how did you manage those things? Did you have somebody like walking with you? Did you have like counselors or friends, other family members? How did you deal with that?
This is why I go so hard for Christ, because I didn't go to any counseling. I didn't go to any therapy, anything like that. I swear the only thing that anchored me and the only reason why I'm not crazy and I really feel like I've been kept in my right mind despite my circumstances was because of Christ. Like that's literally it. I can't even explain it, but yeah, I had no resources. I just kind of strolled through life and God kept me.
Mm. So in your household, right, when you were growing up, did your mom, did she well, first, my first question is, was she single, or was it a two-parent household?
Yeah, so my mom, which was actually very uncommon for during the 90s to be able to adopt someone and you don't have two people.
Yeah,
And
that's why I asked,
so,
because I only heard you mention your mother.
yep, she was single. It's just her. And she was there and she, would like help me through things. But I think emotional health wasn't something she was quite necessarily understanding how to walk me through it. Like she was just like, "You're my daughter. It's okay. Don't worry about it." And so we didn't get that deep. And then when she began having health issues, it's not that she didn't want to, but she couldn't. It's hard for you to be able to talk to me about different things that's going on in my life when you're having strokes. Like that's a big
Mm,
thing. And so, yeah, she really wasn't able to help me navigate those feelings because she was sick. So yeah. But
mm,
she also didn't think to like get me into counseling or anything. Because looking back, I think I would have for sure benefited from counseling. I didn't go to counseling until I was old enough to kind of get it for myself, and so it would have definitely been a great benefit.
okay. So how was life in the what do they call it? Is it the Steel City? Is it the Steel
I
State?
was
What
like,
do they
"What?
call it?
The Berg? That's what we call it." Let me tell you, life in the Berg, we have fun. Nah, it was cool. Pittsburgh is a cool little city. Unless you go, you really kind of don't have a framework of what it is. But yeah, I had fun. I had a good, like, I actually had a good childhood. My mom was just sick, and I didn't know my parents. But my mom kept me in activities. Like, I was a good student. I've always had friends, so like, I had a nice friend group. I would be involved in different things. So yeah, I had fun. Pittsburgh is a cool city. We love the Steelers, like mean so much to us. And so it was all about church, football, going to school, hanging out with your friends. I had my fair share of trouble. And yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so fun fact about me is that I'm actually a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Been that
Woo!
way since I've been watching football. So I was introduced to the Steelers through my dad.
We
And
love
he's a
it.
Bears fan, but also on the AFC side of football, it's Steelers.
We
A
love
lot
it.
of other people were like 49ers. But yeah, as far as teams that I root for, like I will go buy a jersey for, is if it's not Chicago. In football, it's the Steelers, and in basketball, it's the Sixers. I have
Okay.
just for Philly, I have a love for Philly that
Okay. We love Philly too.
I don't really fully understand my love for Philly, but I got this love for Philly. And so I love Philly. I love the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. The job I was working at the time, the manager actually we ran into each other's arms and he started crying.
Wow.
So it was yeah, I got a lot of love for them teams. But yeah, Pittsburgh definitely one of my favorites. So um I mean, we have to, man, we'll make Grip pay for a game or something. We'll see
Let's
what
do
happens.
it. Let's do it.
um so you raised by your mom, she was single. Did you struggle with like daddy issues, like not having a father or a strong man around?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I think I mean, short answer, yes. You always feel because I had a mom, so I never had a dad. And I think it's interesting because I did end up finding my biological mother and father, and I have a really good relationship with my father, but not my mother. And I think I wouldn't have had a good relationship with her just from a few things, but I think it also made it easier not to have a good relationship with her because I've always had a mom. So it wasn't like I didn't yearn necessarily for my mother. I always yearned for my dad. So yeah, I know I had before when I was younger, I didn't recognize it as daddy issues, but later on, I recognized them as daddy issues because I was always just like in the wrong relationships, just looking for love, like any young girl with daddy issues, they do, and just wanting to be in the presence of a man who protects and take care of and provides. And I'm not gonna lie, I still feel that way now. And I don't. That's even minus daddy issues. I just think as a man, that's what like you should do. But I think that added on to it. Like I just want a man who is going to make sure I'm good. So when I would have relationships where I actually had good relationships with guys who looked out for me, made sure I had a boyfriend who would look out for me, make sure everything was paid for. And this was in high school. Hair done. If I needed money for something going on in my house, like really held it down. It wasn't good though because it was a boyfriend. There was other stuff involved in that. But I think that security that I felt in him was a direct result of just me not having my father at the time around. So yeah, I definitely had those issues, and by God's grace, I've worked through majority of them. You still feel. I remember when I first met my dad. We still hang together like almost all the time, and we talk like every day. But I never wanted to leave him. I'm like, I just want to be up on you because I just never got that chance to be around you. And so I think in some ways that's still not necessarily an issue, but it's still like something that is there that I can continue to work through. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some very toxic daddy issues growing up. I think I'm still working through a lot of those things, and because I didn't have my father consistently in my life, like I'm
Mhm.
seeing how that's affecting me now as a father.
Mhm.
And so even my relationship with the father, like it was
Yes.
hard for me for a long time to refer to God as father.
Mm.
It wasn't maybe until like maybe 5 years ago that I really like broke down and was like God the Father and was able to
Mm.
call God Father because I only looked at his as God, like authority, power, ruler, King of Kings. Like that's how my view was. And so, you would obviously pray like God the Father, this and that, third. But as far as like really viewing God as this loving Father and this warm
Mhm.
embrace, it was hard for me. And then a lot of it was because I had this real just a lot of anger built up towards my dad. a lot of things that I had to work through. So yeah, I know for me it was rough. It was rough. And so a lot of the like things that I didn't learn or I didn't receive from my father, I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that I didn't have that same like deep connection, deep love, or deep embrace for my kids. It's something that I had to
Oh.
learn. That I really had to like check myself on. But it was going back to not having a father around. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some definitely some important things that we pick up from our father. We was talking about gender roles today, the things. So it had me thinking about a whole bunch of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of scenarios in my brain as far as like how how that affects us is that's like being a provider, being a protector, right? Providing just doesn't go with like the money aspect, but providing support, emotional being there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a lot of things going on in my head when that question came up earlier. But definitely some good stuff, man. So you came to Jesus, you said at 8 years old?
I would say that's when I really professed Christ. Yeah.
How did you know? Like you knew, like I'm old enough to know that this is that Jesus is who he says he is and start reading the Bible. Like what was it for you that got you to
Yeah.
that point?
Like I said, I've always asked questions since I was 5 years old. I always asked questions. And then when I was in Christian summer camp, Camp Allegheny in Pennsylvania, my camp counselor, she pulled me on a porch and she asked me to say the Lord's Prayer. And I know, that's not an indication that you are saved. However, something in me after I said that Lord's Prayer, I broke down and cried. And that's how I knew, like, oh yeah, something has changed. And as far as like the sanctification process and the reading scripture and praying, that stuff didn't come till well later. But I've always had it in me to know that there was something bigger out there than me, to know that Jesus was real and Christ loved me. And then when I finally made my decision to become a Christ follower about 17, 18 for myself, I took like a discipleship class at my church back in Pittsburgh. I was a candidate for baptism, got baptized, and would start reading my word myself. So I was like late teens, early 20s. But at 8 years old, I truly feel like the Holy Spirit like just indwelled in me at that moment. And yeah, I've been kind of hitting the ground running from there. I would pray for different things. I would cry about different things. And again, I just knew that God was the only constant that was in my life. So he is, and I think that's another reason why I love apologetics so much, because it forces you to question faith. And that's important for me because I've never questioned my faith. I've always known that Christ was real. With you, I didn't need any evidence to know that he was real. I just knew it. It just felt so real for me. And so, but that's not good enough for an unbeliever. You have to like be able to give an account for why you believe in what you believe. And
Yeah.
so my love for apologetics came because I had to force myself to answer questions like, well, who did create God, and why is XYZ like this? And so, yeah, because I just always knew that I knew. I'm like, this man is real. Everything that's in the Bible is real. I never questioned, but I never questioned any of it because, yeah, Christ has just been that constant in me. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar upbringing, but I always knew God was real through my mom.
mm,
So my mom, she flows in the prophetic,
mm,
like speaking in tongues, and not like gimmicky, like I only do it on Sundays in front of everybody, but like in her room by herself, door closed. Like I'm coming in from outside, I hear my mom in there praying. She's speaking in tongues. She knew things that only about me that only the Lord could have told her. Like when
mm,
I did my dirt dolo, like by myself. And so there was things about me that she would know, places that I had been, and she would know. And I'm like, how do you know? And then, but it's a praying mother, it was like God was just telling on me. And I was like, man, like how she know? But um, even when I got into my rebellious stage,
mm.
those thoughts was always playing in my head. As far I could never deny God or who Jesus was because I seen him and I continue to see him today, even play it out in my mom's life of just so I got countless stories. Um, what would you say your spiritual gifts are if you had one?
Ooh. Definitely discernment. I just know, like, you can't get just can't get it past me. I can read people like a book. And it's not even that I can read people, it's just that God just says like, oh yeah, that's a yes, that's a no. Do this, go here, don't say that, say that. And when I go against it, I'm convicted. So definitely discernment, great wisdom. I I'm a dreamer. I wouldn't say I don't like to say I flow in a prophetic realm, but I do think things and it's like, oh shoot, that kind of came true. But it's mainly connected to my dreams. So yeah. If I dream something, I call my friends, they know if I'm calling, especially if I call you out the blue, they kind of get a little bit scared. They like, what God done told her about me now? And I'm like, I hate this, but yeah, so yeah, I would say discernment, wisdom. I'm a dreamer. I have the gift of hospitality. I love just having people around and being able to make people feel like, yeah, feel good about themselves. Like, 'cause I just think it's kind. So yeah, I
Cool,
just get
cool.
tripped up on spiritual gifts because I'm like, yeah, these just things that we're good at, or yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever took an assessment?
I have, and I always forget. But I know
Mm,
hospitality, peace, yeah, and discernment is always one. So.
okay. Cool, cool. So, college life. Tell us about college life.
College life. So my first year of school, I went away to Edinburgh University, which is about 45 minutes away from Pittsburgh. Was in a nursing program, got a letter that I needed to come back for the summer to complete some courses, or I wouldn't be able to continue the nursing program. My mom was sick, and so I just decided not to do that. And so I sat out a semester of nursing school to be able to get my prereqs up to join a nursing program in the city. Ended up doing that and got into one of the colleges, the universities, Carlow University, that is in Pittsburgh. We have like 4 or 5 major universities, but Carlow is in the same area as University of Pittsburgh. And so I say that to say my college experience, I lived at home when I went to college. And so I didn't have, aside from that first year, like a crazy college experience. My college experience was going out in the city of Pittsburgh. You know, if you're on a campus, you're going out on your campus and you party with your campus and you do things with your campus. Well, I didn't live on campus. I lived at home. So all my partying and all my crazy days were with my friends and people from the other colleges in the area. But it was in the city of Pittsburgh. So it wasn't college like campus. Like I was going out to the clubs. I was hanging in the clubs. But one thing I will say is because nursing school was so daggone hard, my level of like turn up, my level of college life, my level of trying to just do all this extra stuff, it was very low, aside from a little bit of trouble and different things I did get into because nursing school was no joke. So I really didn't have time to play around. So me being home, I would get my work done, go hang out, and then be done with it because it was time to study again.
So, you studied to be a nurse. What made you want to become a nurse?
I do not know. Looking back, you know, it was funny when I got I had got my master's in nursing, and when I got my master's, that was the first time my biological mother and father was in a room at the same time in 25 years. And so I used to joke. I used to say, yeah, I got my master's just so my mother and father can be joined together again. And so, and that's a joke, but on a serious note, nothing ever prompted me to want to be a nurse. I really just believe God used it for experiences such as that, and for finance sake. Nursing is very lucrative profession, and so I made a lot of money at one point before switching full time to nonprofit. And I believe that he used that so I can travel, he used that so I can save, he used that so I can spend. Also have a nonprofit right now, which I'm so proud of, Black Nurse Network Pittsburgh Incorporated. And so he used that so I can help other Black nurses.
Ah, okay, so you got your own nonprofit? I didn't even know
I
this.
I do, Derry. I do. And so in line with being an everything bagel, There are a lot of things, and I had to realize this about myself. There are a lot of things that just people just don't know. And it's not that I'm trying to keep it a secret. I just do so much. I just go with the flow. So there's probably like 5 things that you just don't know.
Did Did you graduate from Moody as well, or did you go to Bible college?
Yes!
Okay. All right. So look, all right, we got to talk about all these things because there's a lot right now. There's a lot. So you went to nursing school. You got a master's degree.
A master's in nursing, and when I moved here, a year after I moved here, I went to Moody to get a master's in biblical studies. I went to seminary. So I have a bachelor's and 2 masters.
So
Am
you
I ever
supposed
going
to.
again? No.
So you supposed to be you supposed to be out here teaching and preaching. I'm gonna tell your past on you.
My past.
I'm
I
gonna
was
be
gonna say
like,
my
get her.
pastor. No, he know.
So wow, 2 master's degrees, nonprofit, owning yourself. Do you work? So how'd you transition into to the nonprofit world?
At Grip or my own nonprofit?
Which one came first?
Grip.
All right, so start with Grip.
Long story short, when I first moved here, and sorry if you can hear my dog barking, I don't know if she sees, but she's loud. I first moved to Chicago that that right away I got plugged in at By the Hand, which is another nonprofit here. You know about it. Right away I got plugged into By the Hand because I was like, I need to serve the youth. I've always loved the youth. It didn't matter in what capacity. When I was a nurse, I was a pediatric nurse. Like I just always loved the youth. Got plugged into By the Hand, met a guy named Toby. He was my first friend in Chicago. He worked at By the Hand. The following summer was the Legacy Conference, and I ended up running into him again. He was my first friend and really like my only friend, especially in the Christian circle. So when I seen him, it was like a familiar face. I'm like, oh, hey, Toby. And so we got to talking. He was at Legacy Conference representing Grit.
Okay.
I was like, what happened with By the Hand? And he was like, God just kind of led me to Grip. I love their philosophy. It's different than By the Hand because they work primarily with high schoolers, and I thought that was a good fit for me. He was like, you should try to volunteer for us because I think that at the time at By the Hand, I was working with third graders. He was like, I think you would like working with the high schoolers better. So I was like, all right, bet. So I signed up, started volunteering that fall, and then Toby also everything I do in Chicago, I'm like, it's all Toby's fault. He also told me about my current church, Chicago West Bible Church. And when I got there, I realized that there was a lot of people who went to Chicago West that volunteered for Grit. And so, including the executive director at the time. And so Toby, the executive director, they placed a bug in my ear and said, hey, we're opening up another location for Slam. Would you like to come on board and work? And the whole time I'm like, no, like I'm a nurse. Do y'all know what I do? Like I'm not leaving nursing.
Y'all can't afford me.
Y'all can't afford me, right? But it was so crazy because my whole nursing career, I kid you not, you can ask my friends. I used to say, I'm not going to be a nurse forever. I'm not gonna be a nurse forever. And so, when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, oh, maybe I should. I applied. There was 4 other candidates. I'm like, sure, they're not going to choose me. I actually went to the interview, not really like trying to get the job, not necessarily trying to fail, but not trying to get the job because I was like, oh, I need to stay to be a nurse. Don't you know they called me? They was like, you got the job. Like, oh shoot. So yeah, I got the job, and that's the rest is history.
Yeah, it's funny. For those of y'all watching this or listening, Kylie actually interviewed me for Grip. I didn't think I was gonna get the job either.
Because of me?
I didn't think that I was gonna get the job. Well, one, I was in my flesh, and God had already called me to Grip. And I was like, well, if 3 things happen, like if these 3 things happen, then I know it's of you. And so during the whole interview process, though, and then the fact that Grip took forever to call me back, I was like, I ain't gonna get it. I was just like, tried to email Sue. She was out of the office. I was like, what's going on here? I was like, all right, forget it. I'm gonna just stay. I was comfortable and I was happy with trucking. Like I hadn't had no plans to go anywhere. I wanted to do more in the community and I did want to work with the youth, but I didn't want to leave. I didn't necessarily want to leave my career, but it's really hard to do anything when you're a truck driver because you work in 10, 12-hour days and it was just a lot. And so I was just like, man, God, if this is these three things gotta happen. And then if they happen, then I know it's you calling me to go over here. So those things happen. But yeah, I was, I ain't know, I couldn't read y'all when I was in the interview. I was just like, okay, you were marking like a whole bunch of stuff down. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I like
And
to write.
Carell was checking. So I was like, all right. I was like, okay. So yeah, I don't know. And then I was like, I was hesitant because I'm like, you hear Christian organization. I'm like, hey, really Christians? Like for real Christians?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to get in this job, but then they be wishy-washy. Then I wind up just leaving. So
Yeah.
I was like, I was really just like sizing y'all up. And then the fact that I felt like y'all curved me for 6 weeks, I was like, okay, yeah, this ain't gonna happen. But um
That's funny.
oh, wow. So you started with Grip, and then how long ago did you start your own nonprofit?
It started officially 501c3 status this year, but this whole thing started since 2018. Long story short, I was in a meeting one day as a nurse. I realized I was bored and I did not like what I was doing. I was like, I wanted to get Black nurses together in Pittsburgh to have a lunch. And I had a lunch. First time I had my brunch, it was 12 nursing professionals. This year was our fifth annual nursing brunch, and there was over 90 nurses, Black nurses. And so in
Wow.
that, yeah, we gave away over $5,000 in scholarships.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's why
you.
you always be moving around. I be like, man, she straight be busy, but all right. I see why, because you be focused. You be tunnel
Gotta do this,
vision.
gotta do this, gotta write the check, gotta do this, gotta do that. No, but you know what? God is so good because yeah, my dog is so distracting. I'm so mad. It's okay. At any rate, we started out with 12, got 90, and it started out as the brunch, but over time people kept trying to donate money to us and give different things for scholarships and things as such. And so this young lady had told me, like, you probably need to make this an organization. And so God knows what he's doing because I work for a nonprofit, I was able to kind of see how to navigate my own nonprofit. And yeah, I just kind of filed paperwork. One thing led to another, and we finally got 501c3 status this year. And so it's easier just to accept donations and just do different things with that status. And so technically, I'm an executive director. However, I am so I really don't care. We could talk about what my dream job is, but I really don't care about stuff like this. I hold everything with a loose hand. I think one day I'm going to get to a point within a couple of years where I pass on the organization to another nurse who like wants to do this full time in full capacity. Because me, I'm just like, I'm a visionary. I created it, but I'm not married to it.
Man, that's so dope. And I really wanted to talk about like Black women, Christians in business, but
Mhm.
we'll have to revisit that another time because I didn't know about all these other things. I really wasn't prepared for it. But you just dropped a couple gems, and so we're gonna revisit that part two next time. But
Yes.
definitely that's dope. That's dope. And congratulations on 5 years of doing all those things. So okay, all right, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense.
That's why this girl's so crazy.
It all makes sense. That's cool. That's cool. So, I mean, I gotta ask. You ain't hints at it, but you haven't mentioned anything. So, are you married? Do you have children?
Kylie is single.
Kylie single,
Um,
fellas.
she's single and she's not afraid to mingle. I'm
All right.
dating. I guess I can say I'm in a dating season. Currently not dating anyone specifically, but yeah, I'm single, dating, desiring marriage, not playing no games. Don't come to me with the game.
Okay. And zero kids.
I don't have any kids, just one dog that's barking her butt off right now.
All right. So, real quick, if you were to say a type of guy that you would want to date, what kind of guy? Because if his guys watch this and they like, yo, that like how should a guy approach you? What are you looking for? What
Oh,
you know?
straightforward. Give it to me straight. Don't be scared of me. I'm really not that serious. Give it to me straight. I have like a list of
She's pretty intimidating in person. So if just take her for somebody who see her every day. Just
Wait a
she's kind of
second, Terry. What does
intimidating.
that mean? So
Well, not scary. I mean, I'm. If you ever met my wife, you know that she is a very strong. She was raised by a father, so she's a very strong woman, and
uh-huh.
so kind of too strong at times where we bump heads. But so for me, it's like okay, but for somebody else, it might be like whoa, like okay. I think it's the thing of knowing what you want and knowing what you're doing and being
And I'm
confident in
grown.
who you are, and then just be some. I mean, we live in a generation where dudes can't handle that. A lot of dudes be timid and scared. But I know some strong dudes. I know some strong dudes that they'll slide in your DMs if that's a way to approach you, I guess.
On the
But yeah, and
side.
and they and they and they and they Christian. So
Okay. Hey.
if they not Christian, is that a deal breaker? Like, what's the
Absolutely. That's number one. I tell people this all the time, and I don't mean to even sound cocky. Kylie can be married today. There's someone I can call up right now and he would be like, let's do it. And maybe more than one person. I'm not trying to be slick. I'm not trying to be cocky, whatever. And so it's never no lack of men around. I truly desire to honor my life and my marriage the way God wants me to, and that requires to me a Christian man. Period. And so that has been like the heavy hiccup. Like the Christian guys, I haven't been able to really um yeah lock in that way. Yes, but don't get it twisted.
all right, cool. So fellas, if you're watching, if you're single and you're a Christian, then you can I guess hit up Kylie. I might have her information in the description.
And I have like things
Cool.
that I like, but I don't like to say that because I don't want people to form themselves to that to try to make me like them, if that makes sense. Just be you. I'm
Yeah.
all about just being you, be genuine, be loving, be kind, be godly, have fun, and be a leader and be a straight shooter.
So don't be scared, y'all. Don't be scared.
Please don't be scared because it's not even that serious.
Funny. All right. So moving into what we do, which is mentorship.
Yes.
Why is mentorship important and why is it important to you?
Ooh, yeah. Mentorship is just what I think about. And I think I said it today in Cookies and Combos. I feel like I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do. So I wish I would have had somebody to tell me what to do. I feel like I raised myself. And I think a mentor can come in, stand in the gap for you. And even if you have good parents, a mentor is still like a different perspective because they're not your parent, they're not your sibling, they're not related to you. They can be, but in general, in our sense, they're not. And it's just someone that you can bounce ideas off of, be burnable with, grow. And yeah, just think you always need somebody older than you that's been through different life experiences than you, and
Yeah.
can guide you. And I think what we do at Grip is so important because, yeah, there's a lot of young Christians in Chicago that are willing and able to pour into the youth, and so many of Chicago's youth need it on multiple levels. And I think because we are faith based, that just adds like a special pizzazz, if you will, to being led and guided. And I wouldn't want anybody aside from a young believer to lead me if I was younger in high school. So yeah, I think we do is super important for that matter.
Okay. What's some amazing like testimonies that you've seen, especially I mean in Chicago, or even in Pittsburgh, wherever you want to share, that you've seen students be able to overcome situations because they had a solid mentor in their life?
Hmm. That's a good question, Darry. I think I can't think of anything like specific, but what I will say is I've seen over the last couple years of since working here, a lot of students go from point A, meaning like having no mentor relationship, to point B, going through years, because to me it takes at least 2 years or more to be able to really go deep. Just changing the little areas, like not wanting to pray but now praying. Going from not having any goals and dreams and aspirations to now dreaming, not having a job to having a job, not really wanting to play basketball or be bothered with a mentor because they come from a different socioeconomic status or because they're white and the student's black, to just being involved in their type. So yeah, and right now I do have a mentor who she is going through a lot, in a good way, with her student. And yeah, just to see them grow over this last like 5 months has been crazy. I mean, the student, it was in and out of juvie, in and out of trouble, had court dates every other day, and just seeing how having a trusted adult in her life that she can grow with, the change that she has made over these last couple months has been phenomenal. So there's many stories like that we come across, but in my mind, it's just the little small changes that has made a difference.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, I got a few, and this is outside of like grip, just my own upbringing and people that I've seen
Mhm.
who had a mentor or somebody that was just willing to pour into their life or grab them by the hand, cuff
Mhm.
them, take them under their wing, stuff like that. I've seen it do a whole lot more good than bad.
Mm.
I've seen, like, I have a friend that he grew up, came from North Memphis. Then he eventually moved to Chicago, Inglewood. So he grew up. Both parents gone. I think his dad died when he was 2.
Mm.
Um, Mom passed away. I think he was like 12. So he was pretty much raised by his older sister and his older brother. And when he got around some men that was willing to pour into him, his perspective started to change. Just taking him out of the neighborhood
Mm.
changed his whole perspective on life. There's a stat, and I can't think of the stat exactly right now, but it says that most kids who grew up in the hood, bad neighborhoods, they live and die within 12 miles of where they were born or where they were raised. They never get to see outside of the city, or they never get to travel. They only know this little small area. And so they never get to dream because they don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
And so for him, I've seen his whole, just going to the suburbs and going to a nice house, just like transformed his way of thinking. Right. And
Mhm.
then when you add Jesus to that, like, you see people skyrocket, even if people don't become like pastors and all that stuff, but just the fruits of their life, being responsible, right? Holding down a job, saving money, um, you know, um, taking care of their kids if they got them, seeking out the right type of woman. Like, they have things in order. And it's all from godly principles. And so, like, mentorship for me is my heart for the youth was just that. I wanted to see, number one, I wanted to see more Black men like rise up in our communities. One pet peeve that I do have that I'll share is, Black men, where y'all at? Like, when we go to we host this event, this program called Slam. Like, I need to see more of y'all getting involved. I need more
Please.
Black Christian men to be y'all right here in the neighborhood. It's not like y'all there's not any Black men or Black leaders, but man, where y'all putting y'all time and energy? And if we ain't putting it up into the youth, that's the future. This is the next generation. What's gonna happen when we die out? So yeah, that's why mentorship is important to me. That's why when God called me to transition from trucking to this, I was all for it, even though I was a little scared, but I was just like, all right, like, this is something that I'm real passionate about, something that I want to see, especially, and then we doing it on the west side too. So
Right.
I was like, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but Derry, you asked the question. You said black men where you at, and men in general. To me, where are you at? But what's sad, and what I'm noticing in the dating scene is, I think that there really is a lack of men believers. I don't know where the disconnect happened. I don't know where they weren't. There's just a lack of discipleship among men in the church. And it's not only showing up in dating, but it's showing up in places like Slam and organizations where they need more Black or whoever, more men, period, that love the Lord and are living for real. There is a lack. And I think we can search for them, but I think a question has to be posed is, do enough of them exist? And I'm getting nervous because I think that the answer I can name any church, and it's always we need more men, we need more young men. And so there is a disconnect, and we need to be praying that more men are getting discipled so that we can have more young adults that can turn back and do things like what we do.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. So tell us about Slam. How you feel about Slam? Let the world know about Slam.
Slam is the place to be, the best place to be on Monday evenings. We have 3 locations, one downtown at Moody. We have one on the west side at By the Hand in Austin, and then one at the Brook, which is our northwest location. That will start up in January. Man, when I first stepped into Slam, I was like, number one, I've never been around so many young Christians in my life. So that was cool to be around a lot of young believers, but
Yeah.
also young believers who love urban youth, and we serve the urban youth of Chicago. It's a high energy place where you not only meet a mentor, but you get put on a team, you play games, you have a Bible teaching, you pray, and yeah, you go through life with these mentors. And I think the biggest thing that I love about Slam is that it gives us a different picture of Chicago's youth. So many people think Chicago's youth are the worst of the worst, and there are some, but just being able to say we have about 80 kids on a weekly basis that come to Slam that are not acting crazy or in the streets or robbing people, and they actually have fun and they smile and they dance. It has been such a really life changing thing for me to be able to witness those kids. And so, yeah, I encourage everybody volunteer for Slam, serve at Slam, give to Slam, but also send your kids, and yeah, just come because it's the place to be.
It is. It is. Um, and with that, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but like I said, we had to get into it at a different time. But man, I appreciate you taking some time out to
No
hang out, to
worries.
talk outside of work, be able to share your life and your passions and everything that you into. I got to know a little bit more about you today. And so, man, I appreciate you and thank you for coming on. We'll be doing this again soon. I got Jay-Z and Ashley in the lineup.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm gonna be picking Ashley's brain on just being a new mom and just talking about
I love
motherhood.
that.
And so I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously Jay-Z gonna be coming with the health
What the hell
knowledge.
wellness?
Yeah. So it's amazing. So anything else you want to share? Anything, the floor is yours.
I'd say just go for it. Whether it's serving, degrees, switching jobs, finding your parents, adopting, praying, becoming a Christian, falling in love. Yeah, just go for it.
Amen. And on that note, we're gonna call it a night. Thank you again, Kylie. I
Thank
appreciate you coming on.
No worries.
All right. You have a good night. I'll see you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. So there you have it, guys. If you want to connect with Kylie and talk about mentorship or her nursing nonprofit and all the other things that she got going on, her information will be in the description below. And if you want to know more about GRIP and everything that they've been doing here in the city of Chicago, I'll have the link to their website also in the description. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, would you hit that like button? Would you share this video if you've been inspired or motivated by this amazing story that we just heard? Your support is much appreciated. And until the next one, I'm Darry. It's the Weird Perspective, signing off. Peace.